Hey Summoners, how's it going? It's always a pleasure to welcome you guys back to our channel. My name is Nathan Ng and I'll be your host, running you guys through our changes for patch 11.24. I'll also go over the updated tier list for all 5 roles, and you definitely don't want to miss out on those after we cover the extensive list of system changes. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out on content like this, and let's get this video started. The first thing that I want to tell you about this patch is this wonderful set of skins that has been released. We like to hype up every new set of skins, but let me tell you, this one gets double the praise from me. You can now unlock Debonair Brand, a prestige edition of it, Draven, LeBlanc, Leona, Malzahar, Master Yi, and Zed. These ones really change up the looks of many popular champions, and I highly suggest you check them out. Moving forward, let's run through the balance changes. To start off with the changes, we'll talk about the systems. In preseason fashion, we have nerfs affecting everyone to cover. Predator is the first one because it recently gained a lot of popularity. At elite levels of play, it's essentially defined the solo queue meta. Its users got far too much from it, junglers were almost always guaranteed successful ganks, while roaming mid laners gained immense playmaking potential from it. Having this agency in the game feels great, but too much of it is obviously so unfair for the opponents. Since this essentially shifts more power into the 2 roles that are already a lot stronger than before, it's been nerfed. As a result, the maximum movement speed was reduced and ramp-up time increased. Let's talk about the Chemtech Dragon Soul next. New dragons are probably the most exciting preseason changes thus far, but of course some big balance change adjustments are necessary for the monumental changes like this. Chemtech Dragon Soul is awesome. A second life is innovative, but obviously too strong. This patch, the bleed out time was reduced, meaning that you have less time for revenge. In addition, the damage output reduction has also been increased, in other words, you deal less damage. The next nerf is for Crown of the Shattered Queen. The new mythic has been performing a little bit too well, and the AP it provides has been reduced by 10. Certain champions, such as Victor, have been abusing the high value that this item provides, especially the safety that it grants against burst damage. Cosmic Drive is yet another AP item that's received many nerfs. Following its rework, it has been performing a little bit too well, receiving AP, health, and even bonus movement speed nerfs to its spell dance effect. Back to mythic items, Even Shroud was also nerfed. It's a powerful item for tank supports as it helps them assist teammates in taking down high priority targets. In fact, it's probably been too effective, and as a result, the damage amplification and even the duration were reduced. Once again, enchanter supports can breathe a sigh of relief with less damage in the game. Frostfire Gauntlet received a massive damage buff for the preseason. While more damage was something that Riot clearly wanted tanks to have access to, they went a little bit too far. This patch, the base damage was reduced and the HP ratio removed altogether. Finally, Axiom Arc was also nerfed. The ultimate refund was reduced from 25 to 20%. Mathematically, this means that you need one more takedown than before to fully reset your ultimate cooldown. I've actually had my cousin play Shen with Axiom Arc, and he used his ultimate twice in one fight. It was pretty ridiculous. Axiom Arc will continue to allow snowballing assassins to dominate games without having access to 2 ultimates in a single teamfight. Before I move forward, I want to mention our excellent coaching staff at ProGuides.com. The preseason is a great opportunity to improve on, and our coaches are really trained to help you improve in any single role or champion. And that's it for the system nerfs. Let's talk about the buffs next. Archangel Staff received massive changes during the preseason. Once upgraded, it now takes on the role of providing extra sustain for spell slingers and now provides ability haste instead of AP. The price point feels a little bit steep for what it provides, and Riot really wanted to increase what the value was. This patch, the price was reduced by 400 gold, and that's massive. I'm telling you, size matters. You can expect players to finish it as much as 2 minutes earlier than before. Having it ready for a big team fight in the mid game can easily be the difference. The power spike will be especially massive if a player has already finished second in mana on tier before upgrading. Although the Chemtech Dragon Soul is clearly too strong, both of the dragon's mini buffs are also underperforming. The damage amplification on Chemtech's Dragon buff was increased by 1% this patch. While the difference is quite minimal, picking up multiple stacks on this buff will definitely make it much more rewarding than before. In the late game especially, even a small 2% damage amplification ends up being gigantic in a full item build. The Hextech Dragon's mini buff was also in a similar spot. As a result, both the bonus attack speed and ability haste were increased by 1%. Again, 1% isn't a big deal, but as you gather multiple stacks of the buff, the bonus really starts to add up. Finally, Conqueror just got buffed. I can already hear the sound cue signaling everybody's terror. Yeah, believe it or not, they had to buff Conqueror because of the adjustments that they made to lethal tempo. Too many champions have made the switch, meaning that lethal tempo is simply an objectively better choice. That wasn't the intent of the rework, and with some adjustments to the new keystone this patch alongside the buff to Conqueror, we'll hopefully see a healthier split between the melee champions. Now for a change, the duration was increased by a second, while the adaptive force per sec was increased in the later stages of the game. The previous nerf to its duration definitely hurt, and it's essentially a revert back to its former strength. That covers the buff, so we have two final system adjustments to cover. Lethal Tempo received adjustments based on whether you're playing a melee or ranged champion. As a result, it'll continue to provide a flat, immense combat boost in the earlier stages of the game. The melee attack speed per stack went down by 2, while ranged champions enjoy a 2% buff instead. In addition, the bonus attack range for ranged champions was also slightly reduced. At maximum stacks, melee champions will end up with 10% less attack speed and ranged champions with 10% more. Overall, this is a notable change because it now is weaker for top laners to have made the switch and also encourages more marksmen to use it. It's definitely not as popular as it should be for marksmen, so I can totally understand this need for the adjustment. The loss of some attack range will definitely hurt, but 10% attack speed is a noticeable change in damage output. That being said, the top lane meta should feature a healthier mix of Conqueror and Lethal Tempo users moving forward. Next is the change to Glacial Augment. Following some massive changes this season, it was inevitable that this one would also need a tweak. The end result is a slightly weaker slow at all stages of the game. It'll be a little bit less noticeable later on though, as its base slow was reduced by 5%, but its AD, AP, and health and shielding ratio were increased in compensation. However, the damage reduction, like me throughout all of my life, hasn't been touched, so if you've been enjoying that, then you're in the clear. With extensive system changes covered, we can now talk about champion changes. In the top lane, Camille finally faces a nerf. Her Tyranny probably ends this patch, but there's no doubt that she will remain relatively strong. She concluded last patch just below the 52% win rate in high elo. Given that she was performing excellently for practically a year now, it's about time that she finally received an adjustment. This patch includes nerfs that decrease her power into the mid and late game. Her poke damage and sustain have also been hit during the laning phase, and her E's cooldown was increased by 2 seconds at max ranks while her W sweet spot damage went down. This not only reduces her damage, but also her sustain, since Camille's W heals her for the bonus damage that the sweet spot grants. Following these changes, we'll actually have to move her out into the S tier, but we'll continue to keep an eye on her. The nerfs aren't game-breaking, and our analysts are really confident that she'll still be solid. Kled was the target of some big adjustments this patch. Skarl's base HP will be counted as base HP moving forward. This is by far the biggest change this patch. Skarl's health was previously considered bonus health, which led to immense power with any items that included health scaling. For example, Sunfire Aegis and Gargoyle Stoneplate specifically. Players were able to access a much larger shield than they should have, all because of a small oversight. Riot aims to push him back into his roots of being an aggressive pick that thrives off of high damage and high-risk gameplay. Aside from the obvious nerf by changing this interaction, Skarl's base health was increased in the later stages of the game. Kled's E cooldown was reduced by 1 second and his E's ratio was increased by 5%. We'll leave his placement untouched for now and see where things go. These were some big changes for sure, and the damage builds are surely coming back. Dr. Mundo was close to getting pushed into the OP tier, but with the giant nerf to Frostfire Gauntlet, our analysts want a little more time to assess his strength. Be on the lookout for a mid-patch update because we'll be filling you guys in on that missing spot in the OP tier. Our other strong contenders are Vayne, Irelia, and even Jace with the help of First Strike. In the OP tier, we currently feature Tahm Kench and Teemo, followed up by Camille, Irelia, Nasus, Jax, Malphite, Shen, Mundo, Set, Singed, Quinn, Poppy, Fiora, Jace, Yone, Tryndamere, and Vayne in the S tier. Whew. Before moving on to the jungle, let me ask you our question of the day. Do you have any new favorite builds that have resulted from the changes in the preseason? I find playing Yone with Lethal Tempo extremely fun. I mean, it's quite broken. The access to a faster Q and even lower W cooldown makes all the difference when playing him. Let me know your answers in the comments down below, and let's talk about the jungle next. In the jungle, we have one buff for the role's biggest oddball, Ivern. He's also the creepiest champion I think that's ever existed. He's got like 90% legs. It's terrifying. While the preseason has included indirect buffs to tanks and assassins, it really hasn't helped him out very much. It's about time Riot fixed the payout on Krugs, as it previously made more sense for him to donate them to his teammates. That's no longer the case moving forward. Krugs' freedom experience and gold payout were both increased heavily this patch. This new payout is huge, and Ivern players definitely don't want to skimp out on them anymore. If you counter jungle the enemy's Krugs away, it's also going to be a big boost for your team. That being said, we don't have many changes to the tier list to discuss. The only one that we do want to talk about is Talon being moved up to the OP tier. With the introduction of Axiomark, his win rate has climbed significantly. Access to his ultimate more frequently plays into his typical assassin game plan of just one-shotting priority targets and putting them behind, and also picking up some gold along the way. Like other AD assassins such as Kha'Zix, he's also benefiting heavily from the addition of First Strike's extra income and damage window. In the OP tier, we have Graves, Xin Zhao, and Talon. Moving forward, our general S tier picks are Fiddlesticks, Zac, Kindred, Kayn, Lilia, Shaco, Lee Sin, Vi, Viego, Trundle, Rammus, Skarner, Master Yi, and Warwick. In low and mid elo, the OP picks are actually vastly different. You should consider Vi, Master Yi, and Warwick instead. I love Vi personally, she's super fun. That being said, let's talk about the mid lane next. Without direct balance changes to champions, there's little movement to discuss in the mid lane. There are also a couple of shifts that we made to the tier list. Namely, Aurelion Soul is up to the S tier and Rise up to the B tier. Yeah, you heard that right. Aurelion Soul in the S tier. What a world we live in. Item changes have heavily favored both of these champions. Seraph is a much better purchase for Rise than before, while Crown of the Shattered Queen and Cosmic Drive fits perfectly into Aurelion Soul's playstyle. With these items nerfed, our analysts will continue to assess its performance so we can go ahead and have a more accurate ranking in our mid-patch update. Other picks that have been seeing much more success are Victor, who is incredibly powerful with the new items, as well as First Strike to help him scale up a little bit faster. Finally, there's also Lux, who's worth mentioning because Horizon Focus provides a ridiculous amount of bonus damage now that it activates off of slows. And that's not an excuse for you to play Lux, Trini. Please don't grief my games. The mid lane OP picks this patch are Zed, Vex, and Victor. Following up are Sylas, Talon, Annie, Ahri, Yone, LeBlanc, Kassadin, Anivia, Katarina, Fizz, Akshin, Lux, Vladimir, Yasuo, Tryndamere, and Aurelion Sol. Next up is the bottom lane. First up is a huge buff for Samira. Her ultimate's mana cost was removed altogether. This is a really solid buff, and importantly, it makes her gameplay feel so much smoother than before. I want to almost call it a quality of life buff. It is possible to ult multiple times during extended teamfights as well. This means that the lack of a mana cost no longer gets in the way of players trying to go off and live that hack and slash fantasy that Samira is designed for. This buff really helps her out a ton after level 6. While the preseason has left her feeling a little bit weaker than before, this patch really helps remedy her poor performance early on in the preseason. Finally, Caitlyn receives some changes as well. Whenever she targets an enemy marked by her traps or by her net, Caitlyn's next auto attack gains a partial timer reset. This definitely changes things up, and we'll definitely need some time to understand the exact results of them. We'll leave her unchanged as well, and we'll see how she performs after this patch. In the OP tier, we have Vayne and Jhin, followed up by Ezreal, Ziggs, Lucian, Karthus, Jinx, Caitlyn, and Miss Fortune in the S tier. Supports are also left untouched aside from the adjustments to even shroud this patch. Blitzcrank and Leona are even more popular champions now that have been taking advantage of the new mythic item. With it nerfed, however, the meta will likely shift back towards enchanter supports who have been a dominant force for quite some time now. The one change that we will make to the support tier list is that Xerath is up to the S tier. With his First Strike build gaining popularity, he's picking up steam as a successful support pick. For the first time in what might be in League's history, support Xerath is doing well at all ranks. Even in high elo, where players typically value utility, having an AP carry in the support role is starting to really pay off. Our OP support picks are Blitzcrank, Lux, and Leona, followed up by Thresh, Morgana, Maokai, Zyra, Yuumi, Lulu, Sona, Nami, Soraka, and Xerath in the S tier. And that concludes our patch 11.24 rundown. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, check out the description for a link to join our Discord, because we would really love to have you there. Best of luck in this patch, Summoners, and as usual, you know the drill. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.